Welcome back, everybody. It is the Popper J, and I am back with another Pioneer deck tech. This is another one straight off of MTG Goldfish's site, and this deck is Human Weenies. It is little less than $100 right now, so it's technically less than their quote-unquote budget deck, Blue Red Prowess, on the site, and so less than $100. And it has a couple 5-0 leagues that it's won, and a 6-2, and it just seems really cool. It's a very combat centric humans tribals deck, and yeah. So getting into it, we have Boros Elite, a 1 mana 1/1 with Battalion, because that's a thing. And whenever it and at least two other creatures attack, it gets +2/+2 until end of turn. So it if you can't ever get Battalion on, then it's really bad because it's just a 1 mana 1/1. But the moment that you actually get there to get Battalion, it's a 1 mana 3/3, and if you can continue with that, it will slowly close out the game real quick. Dauntless Bodyguard, 1 mana 2/1, so that's a good body. As it enters the battlefield, choose another creature you control, and then you may sacrifice the bodyguard. The chosen creature gains indestructible until end of turn. So you can do this whenever, but you have to declare as it enters the battlefield which creature you need to save when it needs to happen, and that's why it's called a bodyguard and not like a mom. You know how like mothers or runes they can just tap to do that. This is a bodyguard. Um, Kytheon, Hero of Akros. This is two of only the four mythics in the deck. So these are the only planeswalkers it plays are Gideons. And Kytheon, Hero of Akros, is a legendary creature human soldier. And at the end of combat, if it and at least two other creatures attack this combat, exile it and return them to the battlefield transformed under its owner's control, and then it may pay a 3, and it can have indestructible end of turn. And as its planeswalker form, it has a +2 up to one target creature an opponent controls attacks it this next turn. You usually use that when you have another creature that's way bigger than their creature just to block, or if they only have a 1/1, you can swing and you can keep them open to attack. It's just a really tactical +2. Its +1 is until your next turn, target creature gains indestructible, untap that creature. So that's really good for if you need a blocker against something really big and they don't have trample. It's really good, especially for a quote unquote 1 mana planeswalker once you get it off. And then its 0 is until end of turn, it becomes a 4/4 human soldier with indestructible that's still a planeswalker. And that is actually really cool. So if you can get Kytheon to work, he does awesome. He's already a 1 mana 2/1 who can give itself indestructible. But also on its planeswalker form, you paid 1 mana for a planeswalker that actually is pretty good. It's a 1 mana 4/4 that can die to like removal, like getting rid of the counters and stuff, but still, it's a really good card. Mardu Woe-Reaper, a 1 mana 2/1 again, human warrior, and whenever it and or another warrior enters the battlefield under control, may exile target creature card from a graveyard. If you do, you gain 1 life. So let's see how many warriors. It's a soldier, that's a knight, that's a soldier. That's a warrior. Okay, yeah, we're only looking for warriors. So this is the only warrior in the deck so far. So it's only when this enters the battlefield you gain 1 life and you get exile a card. But on top of that, it's a human that's a 1 mana 2/1. So that's why we play in the deck. That's really nice. Uh, Soldier of the Pantheon, another 1 mana 2/1. You can see the reasoning for that. It's like an aggro weenie deck. Protection from multicolored, and whenever an opponent casts a multicolored spell, you gain 1 life. That's pretty good. So you're not using it for its ability, you're using it for its stats. That also comes with the fact that whenever they cast multicolored spells, you get stuff. Also, this is going to be really good against Oko. Oko can't target it. Oko cannot turn this into an elk. The Soldier of the Pantheon is way better than the Elky Boy. That's one thing because Oko's a blue-green. There we go. Thraben Inspector. This one's stats are flipped. It's a 1 mana 1/2, but when it enters the battlefield, investigate. So it makes the clue that you can sacrifice later to draw a card. The fact that most of the cards in the deck, or a lot of the cards in the deck, are 1 mana, you're usually going to be able to, when you get to 3 mana, just sacrifice the clue, end up drawing a 1 mana creature, and get some more value out of it. Putting draw on a 1 mana creature is really good. So yeah, Thraben Inspector is a really good card for the deck, and it's a human that works. Knight of the White Orchid, 2 mana, 2/2, first strike, and human knight. When it enters the battlefield, if an opponent controls more lands than you must search your library for a plains card and put it into the battlefield, then shuffle your library. We are only running 18 lands, so once we get to our 2-drops, we're going to just continue dropping our 1-drops. We're going to drop the Knight of White Orchid, get that 1 land out. That's just really good. So yeah, it's mana ramp in white, which is funny, because most likely they're gonna have more lands than you, whether or not they went first or something. It's just nice. Thalia's Lieutenant. This is why we are superhumans. Apparently, this is one of the best cards in modern 4-color, 5-color humans. 2 mana 1/1 that when it enters the battlefield, put a +1/+1 counter on each other human you control. So it enters the battlefield, it anthems all your creatures. So this is the lord basically. And then whenever another human enters the battlefield and control, put a +1/+1 counter on Thalia's Lieutenant. So although it's a 2 mana 1/1, it's a 2 mana spell that puts a +1/+1 counter on each creature you control. And with how many 1/1s we have in the deck, or 1-drops we have in the deck, we're probably gonna have at least 3. I guess that's the point of the deck, is to get 3 so you can trigger your Kytheons and your Boros Elite. And then Benalish Marshal. So this was from Dominaria, and this was for White Weenie decks as well. And luckily a human. That's a 3 mana 3/3 that says other creatures you control get +1/+1. It's actually kind of worse than the Thalia's Lieutenant when you think about it, because the Thalia's Lieutenant Anthem just stays on the creatures. But they all work in their own weird ways. This is also a 3 mana 3/3 already, so it's already good. It can work off the Lieutenant, so you can end up with a 4/4 Benalish Marshal if you play a Lieutenant afterwards. It can get really out of hand. Brave the Elements. Choose a color. White creatures you control gain protection from the chosen color until end of turn. 1. This stops them from using a removal spell on your best creature. 2. This allows you to swing in at a monocolored board and make all their creatures make all their creatures not able to block. 3, you can use this in blocking when all your creatures are equal to the same power as their creatures and they want to swing in thinking that you won't block because you'll lose your board. Nope, you brave the elements and you kill all their creatures. Then there is Declaration in Stone. 2 mana, exile target creature and all creatures that controller controls with the same name as that creature. That player investigates for each non-token creature exiled this way. Vampire tokens. I don't know if there's vampire tokens in this. Zombie tokens. This is like the best token hate, like probably in the format, in my opinion, because it also works as non-token hate. It's just really, really good. Like it also can, like, the investigate isn't that important because it makes them have to pay mana. It'll almost make them waste a whole turn if it's in the early game just to get the cards back. And if you can get 2 creatures out of this, that's really good. On to the lands, we have Castle Ardenvale. It enters the battlefield tapped unless you control planes. That's respectable. It taps for white, and then for 4 mana, you may tap it and make a 1/1 white human creature token. That is good. It can trigger the Thalia's Lieutenant. It works with the Benalish Marshal because it's going to be a 2/2. It's just really good, especially in the late game when you've played all your 1 and 2 drops and you need something else to do. If you can get to that 5 mana, because you have to have the Ardenvale out and the other 4 mana, it's pretty okay. 15 planes and 2 Shefet Dunes, so it comes in play untapped, and it can tap for a colorless, which we can only use that for really Thalia's Lieutenant and Declaration in Stone. Or you can pay 1 life and add a white to your mana pool. And then for 4 mana, which is basically 5, you can sacrifice it. Creatures you control get +1/+1 until end of turn. Activate this ability only anytime you can cast a sorcery. So it's also just an anthem. You have to hurt yourself a little bit, but it's pretty good in the long run. Authority of the Consuls. They have a 4 of in here. I don't know what deck this is really good against, but I can see a lot of scenarios when I'd want this in my deck. Creatures your opponents control enter the battlefield tapped, and whenever a creature enters the battlefield under opponent's control, you gain 1 life. A little bit of incidental life gain. It's going to stop your opponents from blocking. It completely stops haste. So like Questing Beast, haha, screw you, Questing Beast. Not only are you tapped, so your vigilance doesn't matter, you can't even swing at me. That's pretty good. Deafening Silence, a 1 mana enchantment that each player can't cast more than 1 non-creature spell each turn. chances are we are not going to even normally cast that much. So this is just really good for us. If we're playing against a very spell heavy deck, this is really going to be good. Like they can't uh, use 2 counter spells in a turn. They can't do a lot of things, and counter spells are actually pretty bad against us since we're just playing a whole bunch of 1 mana and 2 mana cards. We're gonna be able to play multiple cards each turn, while they're only gonna play 1 or 2 cards, like 1 card on our turn, and then maybe like a card on their turn. Giant killer. So this is good against, well, it's cards like giants. It can kill giants, but also it's it's good against big creatures. It can kill things such as Questing Beast. It can kill any of the big 4 mana or greater cards, and then it just comes down as a human and can tap target creature as like a continuous removal spell. That's just another card against the removals or against the big creatures for removal. Hallowed Moonlight, 2 mana until end of turn. If a creature would enter the battlefield and it wasn't cast, exile it instead, draw a card. So this is against cheating in big creatures such as Emrakuls or Ulamogs. And the fact that it also draws a card makes sure that you don't waste card spots. You have to waste your turn because it's 2 mana. You're gonna have to just pass your turn up because you're probably not gonna cast anything. But stopping them from dropping an Ulamog or an Emrakul by cheating it in, that's pretty good. Hanweir, Militia Captain. So it's a 2 mana 2/2 at the beginning of your upkeep. If you control 4 or more creatures, transform it. And its power and toughness are equal to the number of creatures you control. At the beginning of your instep, put a 1/1 white and black cleric token onto the battlefield. It's pretty good. I don't know what it's in here for. Maybe it's against matchups where we don't have to deal with any removal. Maybe I don't know. Maybe they're just testing it out. But it's a good card and a good inclusion for the deck. I just don't get why there's one of it in the sideboard. Selfless Spirit, although this is not a human, being able to sacrifice it and giving all your creatures indestructible in the turn is really good. It's one of those creature deck sideboard staples that no one really talks about, but it's really good. I mean, they're not actually worth anything right now. I'd actually probably pick a couple of those up. I mean, they're probably only like $3 right now or 3 something right now. That's a pretty good card to pick up. And then the rest of our mythics are Gideon, Ally of Zendikar, a 4 mana, 4 loyalty planeswalker that and +1 is until the end of turn. It becomes a 5/5 with indestructible and still planeswalker, prevent all damage that would be dealt to him this turn. 0 is going to create a white knight ally creature token, so that's not a human either. And its -4 is you get an emblem with creatures you control, get +1/+1. So you can come down and emblem it right away if you need to get in that damage. And if not, you can just make him, you can +1 him and just try to get his loyalty up, or you can make a 2/2 and then emblem him on the next turn and swing in for a whole bunch. It's a good card. It was definitely good back in its standard of Battle for Zendikar standard, but funny enough, it has lost its power. I mean, it's funny that we play the Kytheon's main board while this sideboard, while this one costs like almost $15, like $13 each, while this one only costs like $4 each. But it's just supply and demand for this thing. I could see this in main board, but we aren't trying to get to 4 mana main board anyways. I think he's just trying it out in the sideboard anyways. I don't understand why people put non-sideboard cards in the sideboard. I don't see what matchup you want this against. We are almost never getting to our 4 mana. We don't even want to get to 4 mana just to play a Gideon Ally Zendikar. We rather just draw another Weenie or another Benalish Marshal. We don't ever want to get to that land. Determined by the fact that we only run 18 lands. We are going to play 2 lands. We plan to probably White Knight of the White Orchid, get to our 3rd land because we're not going to be able to play our 3rd land because we only play 18 lands, and then get to a Benalish Marshal. Or we can, when we get to 2 lands, we can draw a card off of Thraben Inspector and maybe hit a land. And that's about it. There isn't much to it. You shouldn't be getting to a 4th land drop. We should both basically be topping off at 2 mana and then hopefully getting to 3 mana for the Benalish Marshal. The Benalish Marshal for this deck is basically a 5-drop when you consider how many lands we have. But this has been the Popper J MTG. If you liked the video, like the video. If you're new here, go ahead and subscribe, and I will see you guys in the next video.